You ever get that feeling? That gut-wrenching, hair-raising instinct that tells you something is wrong, but you can't explain why. That's exactly how I felt. It was past midnight when I boarded the last bus home. The streets were deserted, the flickering streetlights casting eerie shadows through the fog. As I stepped onto the nearly empty vehicle, I noticed only one other passenger, a man sitting at the very back, wearing a hood that concealed most of his face. The driver, an older man with tired eyes, barely acknowledged me as I paid my fare and took a seat near the middle. The hum of the engine and the rhythmic sway of the bus were almost hypnotic. I tried to ignore the presence of the hooded figure behind me, but something felt wrong. He wasn't moving, not shifting in his seat, not looking at a phone, not even breathing loudly, just sitting there, completely still. I glanced at the driver through the rearview mirror. His expression was stiff, as if he was purposefully avoiding looking back. Then, I made a mistake. I turned my head ever so slightly to get a better look at the passenger. The man was staring directly at me. His hood had slipped back just enough to reveal something disturbing. His eyes were all wrong. Too large, too dark, and reflecting no light at all. My stomach clenched. Had he been looking at me this whole time? I snapped my head forward and gripped my seat. My pulse pounded in my ears. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe I was just tired. Then the driver spoke, his voice low and tense. "Don't look at him." My breath caught in my throat. I turned toward the driver. "What do you mean?" I whispered. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. "Just keep your eyes forward. He's not supposed to be here." A chill crept down my spine. Then why is he on the bus? The driver exhaled shakily. "Sometimes they get on, but if you ignore them, they'll leave at the last stop." I didn't dare ask who or what they were. Minutes passed, or maybe it was hours. The bus continued through the empty streets, but the tension in the air was suffocating. I could feel the weight of the passenger's stare pressing against the back of my head. At one point, I thought I heard him move, a slight shuffle, a breath that wasn't mine. The driver drove faster. "We're almost there," he muttered. "Don't react, no matter what happens." No matter what happens. I squeezed my eyes shut. My hands were shaking. I could hear it now, the sound of something moving down the aisle. Closer, closer. The air grew cold. The smell of something rotten filled my nose. A voice, low and unnatural, rasped beside my ear. "You see me, don't you?" The brakes screeched as the bus jerked to a stop. The driver shouted, "Get off! Now!" I didn't hesitate. I lunged toward the doors, my heart hammering. As I stumbled onto the pavement, I turned, just for a second, to see if the passenger had followed me. The bus interior was empty. The driver slammed the door shut and sped off into the night without another word. I stood there, gasping for breath, my mind spinning. The streets were silent. The air was warm again. And then I saw it. In the reflection of a nearby shop window, standing just behind me, was a dark, hooded figure, smiling. Have you ever had the feeling that a place was hiding something from you? That no matter how much you try to ignore it, there's something lurking just out of sight, waiting. I should have trusted my gut when I moved into my new apartment. It was old, but affordable, tucked away in a quiet neighborhood. The landlord seemed a little too eager to hand me the keys, brushing off my questions about the history of the unit. "Nothing unusual," he had said, forcing a smile. I believed him, until I found the door. I swear to you, it wasn't there before. The first few nights in my new place were uneventful. I was still unpacking, settling in, getting used to the unfamiliar creaks and groans of the building. The apartment was small, just a living room, a kitchen, a bedroom, and a single hallway connecting them all. That hallway was plain, nothing unusual, until the third night. I was carrying a box to my bedroom when I saw it. A door, a small wooden door at the very end of the hallway, slightly ajar. I stopped cold, nearly dropping the box. My heart pounded. That door had not been there before. I was certain. I had walked through this hallway dozens of times while unpacking. I knew every inch of this apartment. There was no door there yesterday. And yet, there it was. A damp, musty smell drifted from the crack. The air around it felt heavy, stale. Every instinct screamed at me to leave it alone. But you know how it is. Curiosity is louder than fear. I reached out and pushed it open. The hinges creaked, the sound stretching through the empty apartment, like something waking up. Inside there was nothing. A pitch-black room, empty except for deep scratch marks on the walls and a single wooden chair in the center facing the doorway. And then I saw it. The writing. It was carved into the wooden floor beneath the chair. I knelt, brushing away dust, and my stomach turned to ice as I read the words. Don't let it see you. I felt sick, like I had just stumbled into something I was never meant to find. I turned to leave, and the door was gone. I stumbled back, my hand scrambling against the wall where the door had just been. It was solid drywall, no seams, no handle, nothing. Panic set in. My flashlight flickered as I spun around. The room was still there. The chair, the carvings. But now, something was different. The walls, the scratch marks. They weren't random. They were claw marks. And then, I heard it. A shuffle. A slow, deliberate shift in the darkness. I wasn't alone. A sound, low, raspy breathing filled the space, coming from the farthest corner, deep in the shadows. I lifted my flashlight. My hands were shaking so badly that the beam danced across the walls. And then, it moved. A shape impossibly tall and thin, peeling itself from the darkness. It didn't walk. It crawled. Its limbs bent the wrong way, its fingers too long, dragging against the wooden floor. I couldn't see its face, only the outline of its hunched, twitching form, as if it were trying to stay hidden just beyond the light. Then, the whispering started. A chorus of voices layered on top of each other, speaking in a language I didn't understand. The words crawled under my skin, into my bones, filling my head like static. The flashlight flickered, and in that split second of darkness, it moved closer. I felt it now, cold air against my skin, a presence inches away. The whispers stopped. Silence. I didn't breathe. Then, a voice, low, right next to my ear. I see you. Escape. Or so I thought. The lights snapped back on. I lunged forward, my hands colliding with something. A door. It was there again. I didn't question it. I grabbed the handle and threw myself out. The moment I was back in the hallway, the door slammed shut behind me with a force that shook the walls. I collapsed onto the floor, gasping for breath. My heart pounded so hard it hurt. I turned back, expecting to see the door still there, but it wasn't. The hallway was normal again. Just a plain, unbroken wall. No seams, no handle, no door. Like it had never existed. I told myself it was a hallucination, a nightmare, sleep deprivation, until last night. Because at exactly 3:15 a.m., I woke up to a sound, a creaking hinge. I turned my head toward the hallway, and the door was open again. I used to think it was just a trick of the mind, until last night. Now I'm afraid to look in the mirror ever again. It started as a normal night. I was brushing my teeth, going through my bedtime routine, half asleep and barely paying attention. Then I noticed it. My reflection blinked, but I didn't. I froze. The toothbrush slipped from my fingers, clattering into the sink. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stared at myself, unblinking, waiting. The bathroom was silent, just my own shallow breathing and the quiet hum of the night. Maybe I was imagining things. I hesitated, then lifted my hand, moving my fingers. My reflection followed. Perfectly. I leaned closer, studying my own face, searching for any distortion. Nothing. I shook my head, laughing nervously. "I need more sleep," I muttered. But as I turned away, I swear, I felt something watching me. The next night, I told myself I was being paranoid. I avoided looking directly into the mirror for too long, but curiosity has a way of creeping in, so I tested it. I sat in front of the mirror with a single candle flickering beside me. A stupid challenge, I thought, just to prove to myself that nothing was wrong. I stared. Minutes passed. My reflection was normal, just me. Then, something changed. The candle flickered, casting shifting shadows across the room. My reflection's face seemed off. The angles too sharp, the skin too smooth. And then, it smirked. I wasn't smirking. I stumbled back, knocking over the candle. The flame snuffed out, plunging the room into darkness. My breath came in quick gasps as I scrambled for my phone, fumbling to turn on the flashlight. When the light filled the room, the mirror was just a mirror again, and my reflection looked normal. But my gut screamed at me. Something was inside the glass, watching, waiting. I should have covered the mirror, smashed it, gotten rid of it, but I didn't. Instead, I set up my phone to record overnight. I needed proof. The next morning, I checked the footage. At first, it was just hours of nothing. Just my bedroom, the dim glow of the streetlights outside, and my sleeping form. But then, around 3:14 a.m., something happened. The reflection of my body sat up. I was still lying down. I watched, frozen in horror, as the me in the mirror turned its head, staring directly into the camera. Its mouth stretched into an unnatural grin, too wide, too sharp. And then it stood up. I was still in bed. The mirror version of me walked forward, placing its hands against the inside of the glass, pressing, like it was trying to get out. And then it did something that made my stomach drop. It reached up and turned the camera off. The last look. I don't know what happened after that, but when I woke up this morning, the mirror was shattered. Long, jagged cracks spiderwebbed across the surface, and in the very center, written in what looked like scratches, was a single word: soon. I don't know what to do, because every time I walk past another reflective surface, windows, phone screens, even the back of a spoon, I swear I see it, watching, waiting, smiling. I don't even know where it came from, and now, no matter what I do, I can't get rid of it. It started a few nights ago. I was scrolling through my phone, half asleep, when I noticed an unfamiliar app sitting on my home screen. It had no name, just a black icon with a single red eye in the center. I frowned. The fuck? I didn't remember installing it. I held down on the icon to delete it, but there was no option to remove it. Confused, I tapped on it. The screen went black. No loading, no interface. just a pitch dark screen. Then, my phone vibrated. A notification appeared. "We see you." My stomach clenched. The fuck I care. I tried to exit the app, but my phone froze. The screen started glitching, distorting into static before flashing back to the home screen. The app was still there, and now my wallpaper had changed. It was a photo of me, a picture I had never taken. I should have reset my phone right then and there. Instead, I tried one last time to delete the app. I opened my settings, no trace of it. It wasn't listed under my installed apps. It wasn't taking up any storage. It didn't exist. Except it did. Because the moment I tried searching for it, my phone spoke. A robotic voice crackling through my speaker. "Stop." I dropped my phone. My heart was racing. Then, another notification. "Don't ignore us." The text was followed by a list of my contacts. And one by one, the names began to disappear. My phone vibrated violently. The screen flickered. My messages, my photos, everything was vanishing before my eyes. And then, a final notification popped up. "Last chance. Say yes." Below, 2 options, yes or yes. There was no way to choose no. What happens if you say no? I shut off my phone and threw it across the room. My hands were shaking. I refused to play its game. But then, my laptop screen turned on. The same black screen, the same red eye icon. I wasn't even touching my laptop. And then, my TV turned on, and the speakers in my room crackled to life with a deep, distorted voice. "We warned you." I grabbed my phone, desperate to reset it. But as soon as I turned it back on, my camera app opened on its own. It was recording. Not me. Something behind me. A tall, distorted figure standing in the shadows. Watching. Waiting. And then, the phone screen flashed one final message before everything shut off completely. "See you soon. The app is still here." I threw the phone away. Got a brand new one. But last night, as I was setting up my new device, the same black icon appeared on my home screen. No name, no install history, just the same red eye staring back at me. And this time, there was no delete option at all. I think it's too late. I'm fucked. I don't know how to explain what happened. I don't even know if I'm still in my own world. All I know is that when I woke up yesterday, something was different, and I don't think I'm alone. I woke up to my usual alarm, just like any other morning. But the second I reached over to grab my phone, my hand met empty space. I always put it on my nightstand. Always. But it wasn't there. I sat up, groggy and annoyed, glancing around the room. That's when I noticed the first thing that was off. My bookshelf. It was on the wrong side of the room. I frowned. Maybe I was just misremembering. I had been moving some stuff around recently, after all. But as I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, I noticed more. The handle on my bedroom door. It was silver. I could have sworn it was brass. The posters on my wall, ones I had picked out and put up myself, were different. They were the same bands and the same movies, but not the exact ones I remembered. I felt strange, like an invisible weight had settled on my chest. Something wasn't right. I pushed the feeling down. Maybe I was just groggy, still half asleep. I got up, stretched, and walked out into my apartment. That's when the feeling got worse. Everything looked almost normal. My couch was where it should be. My kitchen was exactly as I left it the night before. But the small details, wrong. My fridge had magnets I'd never seen before. There was a grocery list on the counter, written in handwriting that wasn't mine. I walked over to the table where my phone sat. Why was it there? I picked it up, feeling a sense of unease crawling up my spine. I unlocked the screen. The wallpaper was different. Not a major change, still a photo of me and my friends, but slightly off, like a version of the same photo taken from a different angle. My heart started pounding. I swiped it through my apps. Everything was arranged in ways I'd never set. My messages, all gone, except for one, a single text from an unknown number. Don't go outside. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. My breathing was shallow. I spun toward the window. The curtains were shut, but outside, I could hear whispers, not cars, not footsteps. Whispers, soft, constant murmuring, just quiet enough that I couldn't make out the words. A notification buzzed on my phone. I hesitated, then picked it up with shaking hands. It knows you're here, and then a knock at my door. I froze. It wasn't the usual kind of knock. Not a neighbor, not a delivery. It was slow, rhythmic. 3 knocks, perfectly spaced. My legs felt like lead as I walked toward the door. I don't know why I looked. Every part of me screamed, don't. But I leaned forward and peered through the peephole, and I saw myself standing outside my door. Not just someone who looked like me. It was me. Same face, same clothes, same expression I had at that exact moment. Then, my double smiled. Not a normal smile. A stretched, too wide grin that looked like it had been practiced in a mirror. It lifted a hand and waved at me. My phone buzzed again. Don't let it in. I stumbled back, my heart hammering. The knocking turned into pounding. The doorknob rattled. I grabbed a chair and shoved it under the handle, holding my breath. Then, silence. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like hours. My pulse thudded in my ears. Finally, my phone buzzed one last time. I almost didn't look, but I did. One final message. You're the imposter now. I swallowed hard. Slowly, I turned back toward the door. The hallway was empty, but my front door was wide open.